Hello. I don't. Goodness. I sometimes. I was trying to think if I ever have done an ICC. If I've ever had tea under the ICC umbrella, because ICC is Iced Coffee Chronicles, right? And today I'm drinking this tea. This video wasn't sponsored. Today is all digital. So if that's, I don't know. Anyway, no cards. I'm gonna be using obviously, I'm gonna be using the SKT Book of Maps, specifically the I Ching section, because I'm gonna do an I Ching and then I'm gonna use I want it to combine. So that's why this was like sort of sitting for so long, because I had gotten almost everything ready. And then I was like, oh, like let me add the Diceology cards to the Fable Maker's Animated Tarot for the program that I can get 3 cards off of. And it was like more involved than I thought. I would have to go in and actually like change some things. I'm trying to like think, but it would have taken too much time. Too much time to do it today. So, and then I was like, I could get an I Ching because I can. Now I can only run one program at a time unless I like recode it. So I could have. It's fine. Wait, it's fine. There are ways that aren't terribly complicated that I could do it, but it's not already done, and we're starting. So let me go to the I Ching section real quick. I'm going to start with an I Ching, and then I'm going to pull 3 cards in that program. It'll be just the Fable Maker's Animated Tarot. I don't know if I'm going to do a deck dungeon challenge for these. Part of me is like, I might as well see. It's more information, and then, we can intuit if we'll use it or not. Because I was thinking about that, the Vagabond 5 of Orbs as the last card that came out with the whole mountain pass, right? The Spire, Outside of Time, this asynchronous thing that used to be synchronized, Mazzy the True Sword Paladin, and that whole Keeper of Karnak. And it actually, like, I feel like, again, because I've seen that Keeper of Karnak energy as a gatekeeper so often, it's almost like it can be difficult to not imagine, but to consider like what lies on the other side of that, or functions of how did that just happen? I was literally I did all of that to get to the page that I wanted to be on. I've been like navigating the Book of Maps just to get it to the I Ching section. And I'm navigating the outline. I find the thing I want. I click it, it jumps where I want it to. And as soon as I scroll down, it takes me where it already was, like where it was before I clicked it. So now we're back at the Vagabond. Maybe it'll just chill here while I talk about it. So I guess let me actually do a little window capture so you can see what it is I'm talking about. Let's see. I don't know where it is. There it is. So this is the Vagabond in the what all do I have open in this thing? Hold it. Yeah, there's my diploma. It's fine. Every Every now and then, which is very infrequently, I like to just like open it up and look at it and be like, yeah, I did that. You know what I mean? Anyway, this is the Vagabond, the Five Forbes in the Vitruvian edition of the SKT. And we saw it in the Revelations edition. And I held it up, but you can see like the person and then their shadow or the shadow that's cast on the wall, right? And it was that whole like them looking, if they were to turn and see their shadow, because with how the card is written and with how the energy typically works, it proceeds forward without looking at the wall, right? But if it were to look, that's what gave that like semyaza type energy of as that shadow gazed into the heavens and saw itself, then it gave itself a new name, right? And it also makes me think of, I think it was another booster pack. I'm pretty sure it was another booster pack Magic the Gathering cards. I'm not sure which one. I want to say that one where it was very. The train of thought is gone. I just lost it. Oh, no, that wasn't a booster pack. I feel like, was that a number? It might have been an ICC because I feel like there was a certain number of cards I was doing, but it might not have been an ICC. There was a reading where there was a threshold, and the threshold itself was a gatekeeper, right? And it came through in the metaphor of in that other audiobook series that I finished. Maybe I'll give it a re-listen. I feel like it's a good hook. I don't know if I've re-listened to it too recently because I literally just finished maybe a few months ago. What is time? Because it could have been like a month ago. It seems like it seems like so much time has passed since Pisces season, and we're only in Taurus season. Like I just got back from London. What, 2 months ago? I was still in London because I came back March. I think it was like Feb 24 to March 17 or 18, and it feels like so long ago. Anyway, I feel like even last month feels like months ago. Anyway, and I know this is another aside. I did start watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood again, and I think I wanted to watch the first Full Metal Alchemist before I watched Brotherhood because I'm not having that feeling of like I've seen this a million times. I think they kind of start differently. Anyway, I'm gonna try to stay focused. Kinda. I will attempt to. What's the difference between attempt and try? Anyway, it was the whole thing of the energy itself or the threshold itself. It was like the threshold to the energy is a gatekeeper in and of itself, not because it is gate kept, but because of the nature of what lies beyond that threshold. And it was the example of in the audiobook series, once people, it's like one of those almost like a video game, you level up. Yeah, they level up basically. You get more powerful, your abilities get stronger, and they get new effects as they get more powerful. One of those types of things, right? And it's like the more powerful someone becomes, the more magical their body becomes. And then at every threshold, their body goes through a major transition where it purges non-essential physical biomass, and it becomes this magical body energy matrix type thing, right? But it was the after a certain point, people don't need to breathe anymore because they don't have brains and they don't have lungs because their bodies have become sufficiently magical that they don't need brains or lungs anymore. It's more like a soul energy body interaction. This is like an investment, right? And so, because they don't need to breathe, they can essentially exist in the vacuum of space, or they can exist in spaces where there is no oxygen, right? So, like underwater, they're not going to drown because they don't have lungs to fill with water, um, essentially, once they become sufficiently magical. And so it was like that threshold was like, well, on the other side of this threshold is the void of space. Actually, it may have been the threshold. So I might have been using the Wado known archetypes. Beyond that threshold is the void of space. So if you still need oxygen, if you still have lungs, then you're going to have a tough time, right? And so it's almost like that kind of vibe where beyond a certain threshold, if we or you or whoever this applies to, however it applies, still exist in a sort of light dark binary, then it's like we won't survive or it'll be a tough time. I don't know what is on the other. Take it as it resonates when it resonates. If it don't resonate, don't take it. Maybe we'll get some low hanging fruit along the way. I don't have to worry about it now. So then, but now that I say that, that actually takes me to the Ool. It's like I don't have the Lafruma raw runes. But the it was like 12th. Was it what's that one? Anyway, it's the Lafruma Ool cycle where the light and the dark and the dark and the light, where you can go into spaces of pure light and basically your darkness or your shadow not go out of control because with the light that bright, if there's any obstruction, it's going to cast a shadow. So, how do you exist in a space and not obstruct light, right? Most things cast shadows. Does glass cast a shadow? It's fine. And then vice versa for darkness. It's to go into a space of darkness and to basically not be suffocated by it, to have your light within, but also in a way that doesn't emanate sort of outside of you for whatever that space is, right? And it's not, this is like sort of, it's to evolve this binary. Maybe it's like to evolve the binary from like light and shadow to like light and dark, right? The light and the dark that don't compete with each other, that just exists. Shadow was born through obstruction, and it is sort of an absence, it's a void. The obstruction of light is shadow, but darkness isn't an obstruction of light, it just, again, is. So, anyway, then it made me think of, I think it was the last card and the Disology cards. I mean, I've only been, I guess would have been a few weeks ago. I'm pretty sure I used the actual cards, and the last card was maybe the King of Diamonds. I don't remember. A bell that brings the what physical and intangible into harmony as it chimes out into the universe, collision or cohesion. It's something like that. Something about a bell, something about it ringing, and as that like the sound wave travels, it brings the physical and the intangible into alignment. And again, it's because of the whole two things occupying the same space that came out in that two of diamonds, the energy that came out with the two of diamonds as the final call card in the playing card deck. where it was like that equivalent exchange or two things occupying the same physical space at the same time. Usually it results in a like a collision, but it's possible that there's some kind of cohesion. And then so basically, instead of it being like the physical and intangible out into the universe, it's like the bell is that keeper of Karnak energy. The physical and intangible is like the light and shadow of the self, or you could say the ego, like you could say the spirit of a person and their flesh, or like the ego and the not ego, the good within us and the not so great within us. And do they collide with each other to the point where we almost sort of self destruct, or something wild happens, or do they sort of fit together to create a greater whole, a whole self, right? And so that's basically the inspiration for all of this. So yeah, how long was that? I don't know. It's fine. Excuse me, because I'm not using cars. I'm like, I feel so close sometimes. I feel so close to you, right? That song goes, you know. 16 minutes. Okay. So we're gonna start here. For what reason shall the lot be cast? I'm gonna say 5, 8. And I know like the irony of me literally saying, like, oh, I'm gonna start putting titles on videos. And I did it for like 2 or 3 videos, and then now this is the fourth video as of now without a title, I think. It's fine. 5, 8. Um, we'll say the bell chime. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So the train of thought originally started. So it was this image, right? It was the light and the dark, and it was that energy of the keeper of Karnak, sort of pro- being an energy of something that provides an opportunity for these two things to come into alignment. Whatever that alignment looks like, whatever that dynamic looks like, and however it's supposed to look for you, right? There are times to be soft, and there are times to be like, there are times to flow and to be in the flow, and then there are times to drive and to be more like actively moving the needle or whatever. It's not necessarily whatever that balancing ratio looks like for you, because it could be different for everybody. Maybe for some people it is a complete surrender. And yeah, anyway. So it was there. It was that, right? Because then there was that tower outside of time. And so then it was almost like this matter antimatter cancellation. But instead of it being like under the energy of collision, instead of matter meeting antimatter and them canceling each other out and like ceasing to exist, it's almost like matter and antimatter being superimposed on top of one another and finding a way to like simultaneously coexist, right? So it's almost like if you have one universe and you have a parallel universe, and whenever they collide, things just go up in smoke. It's almost like now you have this universe and you have this other universe, and there's a point where they both exist. And that point, I guess, if it's like a physical point, it could create a bridge where you can transition from one to the other, but it's almost like more person shaped. So it's like someone that exists in both universes simultaneously. And again, we're taking it as it resonates. And the whole, well, how does it work? Wow. Okay. It could also be physical and spiritual, right? So for people who like see and interact with spirits, right? You could be talking to a person and then like talking to a ghost, like the movie Ghost, or any movie or a TV show with ghosts, or with a person that can interact with ghosts and people. You know what I mean? The spiritual and the physical simultaneously. But it's the energy of one of those where it works like harmoniously. It's not someone who is whatever. So yeah, it was that. It was like that whatever that super imposition of antimatter and matter being in the same place at the same time but not canceling each other out. Excuse me. It feels like that would be the way to make it to the tower outside of time. Because in that point of alignment between those two seemingly cataclysmic forces, it enters a state of otherness. It enters a state of otherness that allows it to not be locked into chronostasis in an area where time doesn't exist and where everything is still. And then maybe in the grand scheme of everything, and by the grand scheme of everything, it's like an extension of the metaphor. Maybe there is something inside of the castle, inside of the tower, outside of time that once interacted with, it breaks that chronostasis and everything starts to move again. And that would be the removal of that interruption in the quantum entanglement, right? Of things to get it to the point where now this pair, when one thing moves, the other thing moves simultaneously to restore a synchronicity or to restore a synchronization between two things. But again, needing to be in a state, basically like putting on a spacesuit to go into space or a hazmat suit to enter a hazardous area, right? The suit protects the person. You can go out into space and fix the thing on the side of the space thing. Right? Cool. So that's where my brain originally went. It was like, oh, that's like the matter, antimatter. But instead of it being like this deletion event, it's like something else. And that state of something else is what someone would need to navigate, move in that time or the space without time to get to that tower, right? It could be breaking loops and breaking cycles in the way that we see things sort of repeating over and over and over, but getting to the point where they're like escalating more and more and more to potentially catastrophic levels. Because it's like after so much escalation, it's almost like you're gonna exceed the modulus of elasticity, meaning you're gonna deform the rubber band to the point where it no longer snaps back. Even if it doesn't break, it's not going back to the way it was. Right. Cool. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, with the three cards, there's the bell that is the thing, because I have like little boxes. There's gonna be the bell that pulses out, and then I could do the tangible and intangible. Maybe I'll do 2 rounds. See, the only thing is that's why I wanted like a print. Another reason why I need to put a print button on those on this one, just so I can capture what was there if I have to roll it again. Um, but it's fine because I know I want to do one for the bell, and I know I want to do one. I think I want to do one for collision or cohesion, but also at the same time, I feel like it could be one of those things that's like so personal that it doesn't even necessarily make sense to do something like collective. or like non-specific. You know what I mean? Right. It's like you can tell people to be in their purpose and follow their dreams and listen to their intuition and discernment and to develop their relationship with the divine. Because those are all things that, I don't want to say we all should do, but that are available to all of us. But it's like when you get into the specifics of what something can be, or like a specific application, or like do this thing at this time, of course it's going to resonate for who it resonates for. But at the same time, it could be something that's so incredibly specific to so many different people. Again, it doesn't, it's not that it doesn't make sense, but it's not necessarily helpful. And in this economy of readily available information and readers and readings and, different people and their connection and gifts and stuff, for a observer, for a member of the collective general audience, it can be not confusing. Yes, obviously confusing, but it can be a distraction. We could resonate with a part of something and maybe take it further than we need to go, right? So at that point, it's almost like more of a distraction or more of a hindrance than it is a help if we were to, you know, but all things in their own time and in their own way. Sometimes it is the detour. And that's so funny. I was literally just telling one of my buddies about how much my preferences have changed, specifically in the past 2 years. Because I feel like this area 2 years ago, I would have been happy if I could like relocate and move here. But after the past 2 years, I'm like, it's not bad, but I kind of want more. And I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have the experience of the past 2 years, because like I didn't necessarily think that I was like a big city person. And I still don't necessarily think that I'm like a big city person because of the city, but there are like aspects of big city living that I would appreciate and enjoy, especially more than the town living sort of vibe here and more than the village sort of living back home, where we ain't even got a movie theater no more. So now I'm like, how am I gonna go see this movie that came out a week ago? Because I high key want to be like, can we go to the movies? You know what? Maybe we can go tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, cool. But again, if I didn't have the experience of the past 2 years, I wouldn't have known that. And I wonder if that's almost, I feel like that's low key been its own sort of thread in my life for the past 5 to 6 years, of doing things that I never thought I would be able to do or that I didn't think I would ever want to do. But like doing those things, having the experience, and then learning and growing from it. And sometimes it's more so in a way that aligns with the thing that I didn't think I would want. Sometimes it's more an appreciation for like I could do this when I didn't think I could before. You know what I mean? Anyway, there's my little aside. Um, I'm still trying to think if it would, and I think sometimes it's fine. That's, I mean, maybe it's a part of discernment. Maybe it's wrapped up in that intuition and discernment umbrella. Um, I think there's also amount of what could be called patience, but I feel like that's also almost discernment. Because even if we were to accurately be told something, it's like we still have to get there. We still have to go through the process of becoming, right? That's like if when you're 10 years old, someone's like, "Yeah, well, when you turn 20, you're gonna have this experience and you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that." It's not for the 10-year-old to book a flight to a place, or it's not for the 10-year-old to do the thing that they're told they're gonna do when they're 20. It's for the 10-year-old to live their life until they're 20, and then the thing like happens. And if they want to live their life in a way that prepares them, if someone says, "Yeah, you're going to go to Paris in 10 years," if they start taking French in high school, or if they start learning French, then that's obviously something that they can do to prepare them for their France trip in 10 years. It's not for the 10-year-old to book a flight to Paris while they're 10 years old that they will get on when they're still 10 years old. That's a 10 years down the line. That's a becoming type thing. And I think sometimes we can maybe be blinded by a promise or blinded by uh, a future that is yet to come in a way that not necessarily sabotages it, but in a way that could, because of what sort of falls through the cracks in the meantime. Okay, now we're at 3113. It's fine. So, for what reason? Oh, yeah. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if I want to do the collision or cohesion. I could do the tangible and intangible part. And then I was saying I wish I could capture it because I could do the bell, the intangible, and the tangible. And then I could do the bell and maybe I just need to expand it. Maybe I just need to come up with a formula to break down, to like just have a window and create a formula to break that window into as many spaces as I need, rather than doing like this is one and this is two and this is three, when I'm actually like showing the cards and not just getting a number, right? Or yeah, because it's almost like I would do the bell, the physical, the intangible, collision, and cohesion, and then maybe another one for the thing. Anyway, it's fine. Let's start here. 5-8 bell chime. We'll just call it bell chime. Your cast reveals I Ching number 3, water over thunder, shifting into I Ching number 17, lake over thunder. What I love about that shift, it goes from water over thunder to lake over thunder. It's like there's a deepening of the water. Or it's like you go from the surface of the water to the depths of the lake. It's also interesting that these are both above thunder because that is like usually it thunders and storms above the water. But also, if thunder is the sky, is the clouds, then the water above thunder could be the realm above the fundament, or not the fundament, the firmament. Because if it were under the earth, then it would be beneath the fundament. But since it's over thunder, it's almost like in the realm of beyond the firmament, which again, I shouldn't be surprised about because it came through in the metaphor of the void of space. You can put on a spacesuit and go out into space, but like imagine if you could just like go into space and not need a suit. But also, again, in the vein of that keeper of Karnak, it's the space where the light is so bright that if there's anything that would obstruct it, it creates this like massive shadow because that's how bright the light is and that's how close you would be at that point in proximity to the source of that light. And it would be like very dark, very well defined. but also, again, massive, potentially disproportionate to the thing, right? Okay, now I can run this. Now that we have our I Ching 3 to 17. 317! Did I literally not just say March 17th? I can't remember if it was the 17th or the 18th. I think I came back on the 18th, and I was originally supposed to come back on the 17th, but there was like like a winter storm or something near almost spring that had grounded some flights and caused delays. So both on my way out and on my way back. On my way out, I was originally going to fly out from I was originally going to have a layover in like Newark maybe, but that was a point in time where like that winter storm had shut down like the whole, what's that, New England area, Northeast, when all like those airports were shut down because of the weather. But I ended up having a layover somewhere else. So I dodged that. And then again on the way back, since I came back a day later, I dodged that the shutdowns there. Anyway, from 3 to 17. That's also from the Empress to the Star. Okay, anyway. So, oh, hold up. Excuse me. Let me go to OBS and change this. Okay, well, we're gonna have to do some moving. I think I could probably make this a little smaller, but I don't know if I need to. I can just chill here. It's fine. Cool. So, in the first box, we're going to do the bell. In the second one, we'll do aspect A and component 2 because I'm me. Obviously. I can't have aspect 1 and aspect 2. I have to have aspect A and component 2. And these are the two things that are being brought. So I'm going to start with the I Ching, then we're going to do that, and then we're going to finish with the I Ching. I Ching number 3. Oh, see, this is why I wanted to have it ready, but it's fine. It should be right here. Boom, boom. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Law and Order, apparently. That's Law and Order, right? Ding, ding. Yeah, that's Law and Order. Initial challenge, difficulty at the beginning, water over thunder, tune. A blade of grass will push against its obstacle when it sprouts out of the earth. The first meeting of heaven and earth is often beset with difficulties. It is a time of personal growth. For now, you must store your energy, build momentum slowly and steadily, and prepare for the sudden breakthrough. You have not yet found your path. You still see too many possibilities. The lack of clarity is the initial hindrance. Do not grasp at the first solution that presents themselves. Wait until the matter becomes clear to you. Interesting. Interesting because of that. It was both. It was the Page of Swords, the High Priestess, and the Ace of Swords, but also that Ace of Spades, Ten of Spades, and King of Swords. I kind of want to go immediately to 17. I'm gonna do it. I don't have to wait. Yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait. I can have a little patience. It literally just says Do not grasp at first solutions that present themselves. Wait until the matter becomes clear to you. So I can wait. I cannot immediately go and do the thing. Cool. Also, it's also interesting. A blade of grass will push against this obstacle when it sprouts out of the earth. And that reminds me, it makes me think of, it calls back to, in a way, the displacement yesterday, right? With how easily a boulder displaces water versus how easily a piece of paper displaces water, right? For anything that floats on top of the water, everything above the surface is not displacing what is below, right? And so, and again, in that magical um, synchronization between the boulder and the piece of paper, then the piece of paper would be able to displace water just as easily as the boulder. So again, that kind of sort of speaks to a sort of alignment in a way, which this could be about. Cool. All right. So let's. Oh, I gotta go to the restroom. I gotta go potty. I need to. I gotta hydrate. I have to lubricate my throat, but I'll be having to go to the restroom. Okay. Three, two, one. Boom. The Five of Swords, the Nine of Cups, and the Queen of Swords. Interesting how the Nine of Cups sort of sits between. The Nine of Cups in this deck in particular, for me, is also the shimmering veil. And so that energy of where heaven first meets earth, the first meeting of heaven and earth, is often beset with difficulties, and we have that Five of Swords. Wait until the matter becomes clear to you, and then we have the Queen of Swords, and you can see in front of her, it's like less cloudy and obstructed. It's like the clouds are being blown backwards so that she can see what is in front of her, where she gets that clarity. Cool. I've never noticed. You see on like the garb of the Nine of Chalices, it like glints. The rest of his clothes don't, but something about that like vest type situation. And maybe she's giving a little Kundalini rising. Maybe because it does look like, well, I don't know if that's like the solar plexus up. Maybe it is more solar plexus. Cool. All right. So the bell is the Five of Swords. The challenge of the Swords cards. The challenge of the nine. The challenge of the Swords cards is a challenge of connection. Shouldn't be surprised, I guess. It'll be to connect one word to another word by changing one letter at a time and by saying the word out loud. Right? It's not enough to just think it or write it. It has to be spoken. One letter at a time. The challenge of the Nine of Chalices will be to correctly identify one chalice out of nine that contains a silver key that unlocks the room, a room. And I would have to read what the challenge of the Queen of Swords is because it doesn't immediately come to mind, but I feel like we've seen it before. There's also four butterflies in flight. That Queen of Swords is giving me a Four of Cups type energy with the way that it's illustrated because there are three butterflies. It's four of There are 3 butterflies, like, behind the queen and 1 butterfly in front of the queen, and she's, like, reaching up so that the butterfly can perch or land on her hand. It's the 4 of cups if the 4 of cups were to actually look up and see the cup that is being presented by the hand of the divine and is reaching to accept it. It's not just, like, sitting in a sort of dismay, grumbling about these 3 cups that whatever. And again, I feel like that Queen of Swords has such an interesting vibe. So you see how the clouds are moving in the Queen of Swords, and you see that one butterfly that she's reaching up to? It's like the displacement of air from that butterfly's wings is creating this gust that blows the clouds back. Like those clouds are blowing back with force because that butterfly is flapping its wings. And it obviously it brings to mind that whole if a butterfly flaps its wings on one side of the world, it creates this great storm on the other side of the world type thing. But if that one butterfly is doing that, then what are the other three doing? Are the other 3 trying to push back against the one? I don't know. But it's funny because when I was talking about the alignment between, like, the flesh and the spirit and that superimposition of antimatter and matter rather than the obliteration and elimination when they meet, the phrase, "Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world," came to mind. And I was just like, "Okay." But now seeing that one butterfly that has the force to push back that fog-like energy, especially against the 3 that are could be trying to, like, push it back forward to obscure the thing. Okay, I'm gonna have to go to the restroom. I'll be back. Whew, alright. So, there's a question I wanna ask Gemini so bad. I just, like, I don't know. I wanna ask Gemini like what the implications question mark would be of the figure in the traditional depiction of the 4 of cups reaching for the ace of cups being presented by the hand of the divine sort of is or would be. I would love to get Gemini's 2 cents and maybe put him down or maybe just Let them blow in the wind. Also, though, with these three butterflies, this is why that energy of alignment between the light and the shadow, the flesh and the spirit, the self and the soul, and everything else is important, because those three butterflies could be anything that would cause us to reject the clarity that that lone butterfly is sort of like bringing, right? Maybe there's something that we're doing or going to do, or a space that we're going to be in that requires us to face ourselves in a certain way. And maybe there are things about the self that we don't want to see. Maybe there is a thing about someone else or others that we don't want to see. Maybe there's something about ourselves that we can't believe, but not even in a negative way. It could be something about ourselves that we can't believe in a positive way. Like maybe we can't believe that we are worthy and deserving of love, and we are worthy and deserving of like occupying space, of being heard, of being seen, of being like valued. Maybe we don't see how much we like bring to certain situations or people's lives, or how much we contribute to whatever. And it's like the continual and potentially constant diminishing of whatever that confident presence could like build up. It's just like it won't, it's like it'll atrophy because there's something that we won't be giving to it, right? It could be so many things. And again, it's like that's sort of why Best Buy. One second. I can't remember if we're expecting something today or not. Maybe, I mean, there are neighbors. Uno momento, por favor. Wow, either I'm slow or the TV's playing tricks on me. I'm like, Best Buy? I can't remember. Anyway, I still can't remember. But when I got it, they were gone. So, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Um, I feel like I could read these as a. Oh, okay, okay. I'm trying to read these as I have designated them, right? It's like there are things that I can read. And it's also interesting because notice how the clouds are moving in the Five of Swords. In the Five of Swords, they're moving over to the right, but to the right is in front of the Queen of Swords. If they're moving that way, it would be to obstruct her. And so maybe this shimmering veil in the Nine of Cups also sits at this point because you have the air moving in the Five of Swords this way, and the clouds being pushed back by that lone butterfly and the Queen of Swords this way. And it's like it's creating this air system that we see in the Nine of Cups by the movement of the fabric. We don't actually see the air. Also, in that Nine of Chalices, he's still, right? He's not being blown side to side, and his hat isn't. going crazy on top of his head. And now I look again at the vest of that Nine of Cups and I notice its color. I noticed its color before, but it didn't necessarily mean anything. It was more so the placement. It's giving red, red is giving the root. A strongly rooted tree in the midst of a storm will bend when it needs to, but will remain grounded and rooted when the storm sort of passes. Now I almost wish that I had rolled um like the dice to see if we can get some root, excuse me, energy. Anyway, it's like it's easy to read it sort of like as sort of it is, but um as each component. Let's get into it. Let's see what they say. The words that they suggest. I do wish I had a system of like, because whenever there's a challenge of swords, again, it's a very like, it's connecting two things, two words. So the Five of Swords, I'll read the whole thing. On the wall next to the exit door, two glittering silver words are written. One level with the top of the door frame and one at the bottom. The goal of these puzzles is to create a ladder of words between the top and bottom words by changing one letter at a time to connect the two words on the wall. If a creature speaks a five-letter word that is one letter different from one of the words on the wall, it magically appears on the wall between the top and bottom words. Once the chain of words is complete, the door opens. The door cannot be opened by any other means. The word pairs in bold with sample solutions are presented below. There may be other solutions, including shorter or longer word letters. Any solution that connects the pair of words causes the door to open. Any solution that connects the pair causes the door to open. Any solution that forms that connection causes the door to open. At the Five of Swords, we've had this before. And I do actually like this pair. The challenge of the Five of Swords is to connect the word seeks, seeks, to the word finds, finds. Seeks and finds, which is actually like a pretty great, you know. I feel like they've done a pretty good job because most of these I can see, I feel like any of these obviously could be meaningful in an interpretive way. Um, but what's interesting is it's these magical silver words, but with the challenge of the nine of coins, or not coins, nine of chalices, I'll read it. Nine chalices rest on plinths or on a plinth in the center of the room set 10 feet apart. Each chalice contains a sparkling blue liquid. One chalice in each room, or one chalice in the room, contains a silver key which unlocks the door. It's that whole like silver key, silver words, a silver tongue. Mercury is in Gemini, but Uranus maybe. Excuse me. Let's see if this will give me what I need. This is a very rough approximation. I don't know. Mercury's in Taurus. Venus is in Gemini. Uranus is in Gemini. Mercury's in Taurus right now. Okay. Silver Tongue was giving me, you know, salesman, Mercury type energy. Not necessarily comment. Anyway. So at 9 chalices, there's a DC 8. Whoa! The DC for 10 chalices is 20. That is crazy. I wonder if the DC speaks to the difficulty in having the constitution to drink incorrect chalices. To retrieve the key, a creature must drink the entire contents of the correct chalice, which can be identified with the wisdom perception or intelligence investigation check. The DC depends on the number of chalices. At 9 chalices, it's a DC 18. If you are using a 20-sided die, that means you have to roll an 18, a 19, or a 20. That's 3 out of 20 chance of success, which is 1.5 out of 10. So what's that, 15%? Maybe. 3 divided by 20. Yeah, 3%. Or 15%. Drinking from an incorrect chalice deals 2d4, so up to 8, cold damage to the drinker. Drinking the entire contents of the correct chalice heals the drinker 2d8, so potentially 16 hit points and causes the key to appear in the empty chalice. The key does not appear if the liquid is not consumed. If the liquid is spilled from a chalice, it magically refills after 6 seconds. Okay. Yeah, so with it being like a constitution thing, so at 2d8, up to 16 points of health restored if you drink the correct chalice, but you lose up to 8 health points for every one you get incorrect. At 9 chalices, 8 of them are going to deal that cold damage. 8 times 8 is 64. So you would have to have 64 potentially if you get it wrong every single time. You would have to have 64, 65 to survive. You would have to have more than 64 health points to survive drinking 8 incorrect chalices, to only then be healed for 2 chalices worth, making it so that you only drank 6 incorrect chalices because you healed from 2. And we did see the 6 of cups yesterday. Anyway, silver key, silver words, seeking to finding. That is almost giving me there was an episode of King of the Hill with they were looking for the reincarnation of somebody, right? And there was a religious group going around trying to find the reincarnation of that somebody. And one of the neighbors had like that faith, that was their faith. And so they participated in the trial. There's one character that correctly identified the thing from a person's past life, but the thing was reflective. And he chose the reflection. It was a mirror, I'm pretty sure. He chose the reflection in the mirror because it reflected his crush. And I think there were like 2 monks, and one of the monks was like, and he was, I think, like he was a contender. He was like just some random guy that just so happened to be in the vicinity of this girl whose parents just so happened to that like that just so happened to be their faith, from what I remember. So a whole bunch of just so happened to be at the right place at the right time when it came time to go looking and searching. One of the monks was like, should we let him go? He correctly picked the thing that belonged to that person in their past life. And then the other monk was like, he picked the reflection of the girl in the mirror. He didn't pick the mirror. It's given that energy of like correctly selecting the right whatever. The Five of Swords being the bell, this honestly, it makes me think of there was a reading. And the Five of Swords may have come out in the Deck Dungeon Challenge in the same one. No, no, no. That one was Sacred Pools. It may have still been that. What I recall of the reading, there was something that was happening behind the scenes, like from sacred pool to sacred pool to sacred pool. There was something looking for someone. I feel like for some reason I was using the Wand Unknown Alchemy because one of the seasons, I can't remember if it's winter or if it was autumn. I feel like it was, I don't think it was winter. It may have been autumn. I think autumn is the season where the tree is like heavy with gold. I think. Don't remember. And maybe the Knight of Cups was there too. Because it was like there was something in the spirit that was moving, that was seeking someone for some reason, which is sort of coming off the back of that, like Einstein. I think it's fine. After I ended the live, I was still thinking about the units of um, mass times acceleration times displacement. And I'm like, is that a Newton? Is that a kilogram? I think a Newton is a kilogram meter squared per second squared, which, Newton being a measurement of work sort of makes sense. Newton, oops, not, I don't know what NDSGO is. Newton unit. The Newton is a kilogram meter per second squared. Newton meters is a kilogram meter squared per second squared. Hello, what is this? I don't want to try this. I'm not interested. It's a unit of force defined as the force required to accelerate a 1 kilogram mass at a rate of 1 meter per second squared. There you go. Yeah, MA, mass acceleration. So Newton meters is like that applied over a certain distance. Anyway, which makes sense. Anyway, that makes sense. Okay. Cuz yesterday I was like I feel like I'm getting it, but I don't get it. But that's because I wasn't accounting for the displacement. So over a displacement you're accumulating essentially that energy. You're accumulating that force into the work that is done to move that force. You're accumulating the force into the work that is done to move an object a certain distance, right? Obviously, it takes more work to move something 10 meters versus like 1 meter. But accumulated over 10 meters, this is amount of energy that would be exerted. Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Anyway, I feel like anyway, it's fine. So the challenge of the bell is seeking and finding. The first aspect is that Nine of Cups, and the challenge of the Nine of Cups is to correctly identify which of these chalices has the silver key. If accomplished through trial and error, it's to have the Constitution. Like you have to have enough hit points to drink 8 chalices that each deal potentially 8 points of damage before you get to the right one. And that could be right. Like if our intuition and discernment is telling us something, if the divine lets us know that there's something that we need to do to get from point A to point B or to have a certain change happen, occur in our lives, and we sort of do everything else but that. In one case, we do everything else but the thing that we know we need to do to get what we want or to go where we're to get where we're going. But it's like I've done this and I've done that and I've done all of these other things and I'm still not anywhere closer to whatever. And so, we can burn out and we can lose faith and just go and do whatever. I've done everything besides the one thing I know I need to do, and nothing is happening. So I quit. I give up. This is too much. It's too hard. We don't get the silver key to unlock that door. Or it's something that just requires a constant showing up. And it's like every cup can represent a day, a week, a month, a year that we just have to stick with it until things move. Again, sort of playing into the dedication and determination of yesterday. And I think that was the chariot side of the magician and the chariot. Or no, that was this. It was also the seven of wands. It was that seven of wands that was in between judgment and the sun. It was that two of swords. It was holding the vision long enough to see it come to fruition, even if it's piece by piece by piece and sort of scattered and fractured until the pieces come together where the full picture is more easily recognizable. I think there's also, because of how the nine of chalices is placed, it's the shimmering veil, it's that spiritual element, it's that stillness within the storm. And because of that reddish or red orange vest, it's giving root energy to be firmly rooted. The other component is one that, again, there's something about that one butterfly that flaps its wings that creates clarity that surpasses a multitude or a magnitude of deception, illusion, whatever, beyond itself, right? Because it's 3 to 1, but the one is winning. Okay. Because when I was looking at this as like physical and intangible, with how it came out, the bell, whatever the bell is, the light behind the Keeper of Karnak, whatever that light is, what exists on the other side of a threshold, whatever that threshold is, it's seeking someone grounded, someone deeply rooted But in the vicinity of like other winds that blow spiritual, but also someone that has you could say someone that has the integrity or authenticity or the dedication to truth and clarity that can strip bare all illusions, even their own. It's almost like trying to find someone that or something that is capable of really seeing a truth and maybe being able to do something with it, maybe not. I don't know. Okay. And with the Five of Swords being the Five of Swords, it could be many have tried, but few have succeeded. It could be the keeper of Karnak keeper of Karnak kicking lots of cans. Because again, the accentuation, the definition, the magnitude of the shadow that's formed by the obstruction of such a powerful light, by being in such close proximity to the source of a powerful light and obstructing that light. Now, I could do this. Five of Swords. And I'll do this for the winds moving that way. Also, between the Five of Swords, you can't see my cursor. I turn that off. I guess, could I turn it on really quick? Let me see. I'm going to turn on my cursor really quick to try to. Oh, wait. Can you see my cursor? It says capture cursor is on. Hold up. Oh, you can't see my mouse. Okay. So you see this thing here? It's almost like there's a circle here. Because we don't see, it's not yellow like this one over here on the Queen of Swords. You see it's this yellow one, the yellow orb, and then there's like this wider yellow circle, and then there's like that pale one. It's giving like sun and the moon, silver and gold. And then with the nine of chalices at the top, you see like the radiance of something sun like, but you don't see the actual sun. It's like the actual sun is behind this shimmering veil, but you can see like the outside, the light sort of above it, but it's like this moon and the Five of Swords. And to go from the contention and confusion and potentially the hopelessness of the Five of Swords to the clarity of this Queen of Swords, it's like that moon has to rise, but also the sun rises with it. And it's so interesting to see in this Queen of Swords the sun and the moon at the same time, because that was like a whole thing maybe two lives ago when you see the moon in daytime. So if you're following the moon, or if something is done in accordance with the moon, there are times when the moon spends most of its time in the sky during the day. So if you're following the moon, you're going to be active during the day. Again, any solution that connects that pair will unlock the door. So it's not like you have to do what do I know about anything? I don't know nothing about moon rituals, full moon, new moon, nothing. I don't participate in it. I came across some information years ago, like early in my whole like YouTube exploration journey. It never really resonated to me for me, so I didn't dive into it anymore. Still doesn't. So, you know, I might have like I might think about I feel like I don't even do that anymore. Anyway, it's like if you're in a certain line of thinking, if you're following the moon, there are going to be times where you're active during the day, even though it could be counterintuitive because we most easily see the moon at night. But again, it's like there are times when the moon is active during the day. It's giving more so the moon being active during the day than it is giving an eclipse or coming off of an eclipse. To me. But maybe also because you see the moon in and the sun at the same time in the same sky, it adds to that energy of clarity. Because if you're going to see the moon and the sun at the same time, it has to be during the day. The sun is too bright to come out at night. If the sun is there, it will make it daytime. That's how bright the sun is. And that's how close we are to the sun. So it lends more illumination than the moon can provide itself. It makes something veiled and mysterious plain and clear. Not necessarily easy to understand, but you will see it, right? Like there's a difference between like it's like if there is some kind of whatever, like a unicorn. Let's just go unicorns. Let's keep it light and happy. Well, let's not do unicorns because there are we know that like a unicorn is a horse with a horn, right? So regardless of the images and the portrayals of unicorns that we've seen, if we see a horse with a horn, we can go, "Oh, it's a unicorn." It would be like seeing something that we don't know what it is. And even seeing it, you still don't know. You know what I mean? It's like I can see clear as day, it's right in front of me, but I still don't know what the frig I'm looking at. Like, what is it? It's type energy. Just because we see it doesn't necessarily mean we know, but we have the clarity to maybe begin to understand. The reason again why this Nine of Cups is giving other winds, like spiritual winds, is because you don't see the wind, but you see the rippling of the veil. You see the wind over here and the wind over there, so you know that there's wind there. But it's just giving that spiritual, and it's again, it's firmly rooted, deeply rooted spiritual energy on one side, and that ability to call forward clarity. Maybe it could be a strong intuition and discernment, a strong intuition honed by discernment, a weak intuition honed by discernment into a stronger intuition or a strong intuition. Or it's like I would imagine, you can maybe not have the strongest intuition and discernment, but the more you like follow your intuition, the more you'll be able to discern. Did the mail just come? I gotta go to the bathroom again. I got a potty again. Um, the more you follow, like the stronger it gets. Then your intuition hones your discernment hones your intuition. It's almost like picking up a language, right? At first, maybe you'll pick up a few words. The more words you pick up, eventually you'll be able to talk rather than just like listening and picking stuff up. As you're actively conversing with people, then you'll be able to like sort of correct yourself, find sentence flows and stuff like that. And then you develop a more natural native proficiency, right? Cool. Yeah, this is what we're doing. This was the nine of chalices, other winds shimmering veil. This is to remind myself because I think I am going to do it again. This is Queen of Swords, 1v3. No, we'll do 3v1 because the one is, on the right and the three are on the left. And it's also moving this way. Oh, we can do it this way. 3 this way. Oh, not the question mark. Let me put my glasses back on. There we go. 3v1. And I guess I'll do it this way. And I guess, anyway. Oh, goodness. I'm going to have to go to the restroom. So I think when I do this again, can I do this? I think it just scrolls. I can. I wonder. Yeah, it scrolls and it auto fits. We're going to put the bell, not Bill, girl, not Bill. We'll put the bell here. And then we'll do collision and cohesion. I made notes so I would remember. And we'll shuffle it up again. I am going to read the other I Ching though, and then we'll click it. Oops. So I Ching number 17, which will be lake over thunder. And again, I love the deepening of water into the lake, especially when it's like, wait until the matter becomes clear to you. There's a depth with the lake. What does it change into? That's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Inspiring followers, Sui. I feel like Sui is like, I thought it was like, because there's like Kazejin and Suijin. I thought it was like water or something. To lead, first you must serve. A follower becomes the leader. Followers must come to you by their own volition. You cannot secure them by force or cunning. Force them and they will resist. Serve them and they will serve you. Reward loyalty with generosity. Trust in your own excellence. The leader acts with logic and detaches from emotion, but inspire your followers to act with emotion and detach from logic. Adapt to the circumstances, change and perseverance bring you prosperity. Unlikely folk will become your allies. Unlikely folk become allies. Diversity is how you accomplish your objective. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Oops. Sorry. So, what I love, obviously, there is the reward loyalty, trust in your own excellence, right? If someone couldn't, like maybe one of those butterflies on the 3 causes confusion, illusion, because we can't trust in our own greatness, right? There's a million and one reasons why we're not as smart as whatever as whoever, and why we may shrink and not feel like we are worth sort of contributing, even though our contribution is important. So there's that, right? Again, the trust in your own excellence. Um, there's also, I mean, besides, because this is a collision or cohesion, we would be both the leader and the follower, right? The leader acts with logic and detaches from emotion, but inspire your followers to act with emotion and detach from logic. These followers follow the leader of their own volition and they serve each other. The leader serves the followers serve the leader. Logic serves, or the logical, serves the emotions or the emotional, just as the emotions and emotional serves the logic and logical. Logic, emotion serves logic. Logic serves emotions. The emotional serves the logical serves the emotional. It's not one, there's a balance between them, basically. Unlikely folk become your allies. Diversity is how you accomplish your objective. Cool. What is sui? I really want to look that because I feel like that was like sui was like water. Not the Sui dynasty. The Sui dynasty, according to the AI overview, the Sui dynasty was a short lived but pivotal Chinese dynasty that reunified China after centuries of fragmentation. I love that reunification after fragmentation for obvious reasons because of the two things coming back together cohesion, right? The logic serving the emotions serving logic. I thought it was like water or something though. Okay, I'm gonna have to go to the restroom. Oh my gosh. All right. I grabbed a few Oreos, but I guess I didn't think about eating them and talking at the same time. So that pair of Oreos is gonna chill there for a minute. Oh, Oreos. See, black and white. This would be the light and the darkness, right? The light that we keep inside of us, right? If it's black and white. So the opposite of not the opposite as in the other side of the polarity, but opposite as in the a different environment, right? Like the other side of the coin. One of them says Oreo, the other one says Oreo. They're the same. But like with the black and the white, if you dunk an Oreo in milk, that's the white within the black being dunked into the white, and that creates shadows. But it's like if you have an Oreo in the dark, then it wouldn't. If we're talking about black and white, the white, if this is us, that's still within. So our overall composition is the same. We're still as light as we are dark as we are light. We're not distorted by the environment. The dark doesn't snuff out the candle. And also, we don't disturb the environment. We don't become this like black hole in the middle of field of stars that swallows everything and creates more darkness. And we don't, not this floodlight that just like washes everything out either. It's a balanced thing, girl. The Ool cycle. Cool. All right. So let's go. So the bell went from the five of swords to the six of swords. And now it's going to the king of wands. We had the queen or the king of swords. Sorry, we had the queen of swords there before. I want to eat another Oreo. I should have left these where they were. If I need to think, I'll take an Oreo break. How about that? Also, what I love about this king of swords is the stillness. This king of swords may be. I want to say this king of swords is one of the very few cards in this deck where you see clouds, but they don't move. And you see the birds in the sky. There's a 1-3 here too. There's one bird on the left. I have my cursor. There's one bird here. And then there's like these three over here on the King of Swords. What I also love about the Six of Swords being here, where we saw the Nine of Cups before, the Nine of Chalices, because that Nine of Chalices is the shimmering veil, right? We saw like above the six and the Six of Swords, you see like on that outer halo, we saw the light emanating from behind the curtain, but we didn't see the actual source of light. You can actually see the sun in the background. With this, again, we see mountain ranges again, but this time instead of a tower or something, it's just like wide open. Instead of a temple, it was a temple in that five of um it's literally right here. In the five of orbs, it was a temple. Oh, I'm not gonna show you because I am in the I Ching now and I would have to go back. It's fine. But also before that was a space where there is no movement, right? Here the Six of Swords. The Six of Swords is a card of movement, but the boat is still while the waters are flowing. And it's like that the glint of light going up the swords. It's like a reflection of like the crest of a wave. I wonder if I could loop these where they like go forward and then back and then forward and then back rather than a continuously forward loop, you know? Anyway, yeah, now there's movement behind the veil. You can see the source of light and there's movement. Also, the mountain range where there's the temple or the tower, and it was again like if we could be in the space in the state of alignment, if matter and antimatter could exist with in a state of like superposition or super I think I said superimposition, superposition or mega position rather than obliteration and elimination, right? Rather than matter and antimatter eliminating one another upon touching, they form again that sort of superposition, then that energy can navigate in a space where there is no time. And so again, I love that behind what we saw as the shimmering veil in the same space before, we see the Six of Swords movement, but obviously the cards are depicted the way they're depicted. But with the image, it's the water that moves around the boat. It's not the boat that moves through the water. She's giving Futurama vibes where their spaceship Instead of the spaceship moving through space, it moves space around it, which again, from the outside, is essentially the same. But what I love about this boat being still is the person was still before, right? And we saw the veil shimmering. We saw things being moved by the wind, but we didn't see the wind. And the person wasn't being moved by it, they were still. It's a stillness as things flow around. Okay. So collision is the nine of coins, which is minor empress energy. Cohesion is the king of swords. What is the king of swords? I didn't ask Gemini the question. There's so much stillness in that king of swords. But again, that's sort of the feature. The only thing we see in the king of swords is almost like the garment of that nine of chalices we saw before. Actually, they could be very similar. I think their skin tones are similar. The nine of chalices may have been a bit darker. It's like the same person, but now instead of sitting at the nine of chalices, they're sitting as the king. And instead of that red sort of starting at their navel and going up, being that root grounding them and being maybe the source of power to create that zone of stillness, it's like from the assuming feet to the shoulders and even into the crown. But instead of red, it's now like this rich purple, which could give indigo, could give crown. And literally, his crown is sparkling. So from the root before to the crown here. What I'm noticing, and I literally just saw this in an anime last night, with the collision, you see the vines moving in the top of the card. It's giving me like, and you see it also like coiling around her hand here as she's busy like distracted by this falcon. It's like she's being eaten by this person eating. It's even on her clothes. She's being eaten by these people eating plants. But it's like she's in the state of this illusion that she doesn't even notice that she's being consumed, right? So like a Venus flytrap, but it doesn't immediately trap somebody. How do you keep someone still enough for these slowly creeping vines to ensnare them? She's like, again, it's like this delusion. It's an illusion that she's like, eyes glazed over, just standing there. But in her mind, it's like this, whatever. And she's being consumed by the earth. You could say it's a low hanging fruit of it's any base, whatever, that eventually wins out. It's when we go from surviving to thriving. But then when that abundance sort of spills into and spoils into opulence, that turns into greed, but like an insatiable greed. And then all of a sudden, it's like a person that, in the beginning, maybe they just wanted, their basic needs met and their desires met. And it was like, in the beginning, it was all happy, but eventually it was like more and more and more and more and more. And enough was never enough. Nothing was ever enough. And they just kind of sort of lose themselves to constantly just chasing whatever. And then again, they get swallowed by the earth. that element takes them over on one side, but on the other side, on the side of cohesion, is the King of Swords. Now, what I also love about, because this symbolizes the bell, the Six of Swords, the bell that chimes out, that is seeking those who wish to find something, right? And there's a difference between wanting to find a thing and wanting to find something through a thing. Again, in the example before, the character in that show didn't choose the mirror because the mirror called to them as a relic of their past life. The character chose the mirror because of the reflection that it showed him. He chose her through the mirror. He didn't choose the mirror, right? Sometimes we can seek like abundance through the divine. We can seek love through the divine. We can seek all kinds of earthly things through the divine, but we're not actually seeking the divine. We're not actually, it's like we're not seeking faith or whatever to seek it. It's like we're seeking it as a means to accomplish other things. And in that vantage point, viewpoint, under that mode of operation, that's how we end up in that Nine of Coins energy. We get caught up in the earthly material things to the point where, again, it eventually entangles, ensnares, and then strangles us. And it feeds on our bones and on our bodies to keep growing. That's how the forest is fed, that man devouring forest. Just give them a little bit of this and show them a little bit of that, and they'll be still enough that the slowest of vines can just get up there. Cool. All right. I feel like there's more to say with that King of Swords, but he's really not giving nothing, which I'm not surprised by. Because again, it's like it's general, collective, and apparently in some kind of state where I'm like, wait. But it is interesting, again, the shift from red to this deep purple. And rather, it's like beyond the shift from red to purple, which could be, excuse me, like from the root to the crown. It also, instead of it starting at the navel, it starts at the ground, which, when it's still enough in that Nine of Chalices, then the roots can sink deeper. But it's like not only do the roots sink deeper, but there's something that moves through the plant, that moves through the self, that sinks even deeper too. I don't know. Cool. Um, so I guess low hanging fruit, if you've been, don't be distracted by the material and the external to the point where it becomes your driving factor, right? Because that's when things can shift, right? When we go from seeking to provide for ourselves and our family to seeking to own anything and everything, to compete with someone or to have a sense of validation, like self validation because of what we own, or, that's when things can get a little wonky. Cool. I think that's it. Um, yeah. I could ask that question. Sure. Maybe we'll end with that question. Hey, Google, in the Rider Waite Smith depiction of the Four of Chalices, there's a person looking discontent while a cup is being offered by the hand of the divine. What is your take on if the person were to recognize the cup and to accept it?
If the figure accepts the fourth cup, they awaken from their apathy and re engage with life. Taking the cup symbolizes a shift from self absorbed stagnation to spiritual gratitude, transforming emotional exhaustion into new inspiration.
I'm not even done with my Oreo. That's it. Like, she gave it to me, but I don't know. That's kind of weak. I feel like that's something that I would expect to read in like a book that came with a deck. You know what I mean? There are some books that I love, but I feel like that fruit was hanging a little too low, right? Like that fruit was on the ground. And if you don't know how long it's been on the ground, it could be rotting. But I mean, it's still fine. I don't know. Spiritual, like gratitude for me, I feel like gratitude for me almost sometimes feel like one of those like buzzwords where almost like it's kind of like lost its meaning or the meaning of it has been diminished because it's like, oh, just be grateful, practice gratitude, and you'll get everything. And gratitude as a practice, gratitude as a gateway, I understand. Gratitude as a quick fix destination is where I'm like, okay, maybe I want more. Maybe I just need more. Maybe I'm insatiable. I don't know. It feels like a a mile marker, not a destination, but something that you also carry with you. You never necessarily lose it, but I don't know. I don't want to stop there either. Cool. All right. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. We're gonna end this. We're gonna get one final card. I'm gonna see if when I flip this, if it resets the boxes. It should. Yep. Final. Let's see. 5, 8. I guess we're doing dash. Oh, they didn't register the dash. 5, 8. Final card. Space. The final card is the Knight of Wands. Two things stand out to me. The first thing that stood out to me is the fire blazing out of the crown of the Nine of Wands. The second thing is not only do we see this energy surging up the wand, but also we see this bud blossom as the energy surges up that wand. I didn't talk about this in the reading. I think it was when I was still here a few days ago. We saw a few lives ago. We saw the Page of Wands, I believe, and I think it's when we saw like the Ace of Pentacles. Wait, it was it was a thing. It was the thing. The two things. Was that the tools of the magician? When I looked for the first wand, cup, sword, and coin held, pentacle held, and there was like the person that had been banished from the kingdom. They were exiled, and it's like their birthright and their destiny to rule the lands that they were born to rule. So they go and they have this bloody revolution and they bring destruction to the land. So it's like you win the throne, but you've destroyed everything to get it. So congratulations, you are the king of nothing. Versus just building a new nation wherever, again, sort of in the vein of, be a person of authenticity, integrity, and whatever, and your followers will find you. You don't have to pretend or force or whatever. And it was that, like, didn't you notice that you never like starved? When you needed it, there was a meal. when there was a storm outside, you had a place to seek shelter. When you really truly needed a confidant, there was someone there to listen. And it was like the person had a seed or the blessing that was within them before. It's like wherever they were, it couldn't really take root. It could only act to the extent of maybe making sure someone survives or keeping them alive. But when they get to where they're going, it's like that's when it experiences this like massive release. That's when it can really, like, that blessing can really sort of express itself. And that's where like the abundance comes into play. And I didn't say that, but there was like that vibe. And something about the life blooming at the end of this. Also, our first I Ching number 3 was the blade of grass pushing through the surface, right? A blade of grass will push against its obstacle when it sprouts out of the earth. The first meeting of heaven and earth is often beset with difficulties. It is a time of personal growth. For now, you must store your energy, build momentum slowly and steadily, and prepare for the sudden breakthrough. Excuse me, you have not yet found your path. You still see too many possibilities. The lack of clarity is the initial hindrance. Do not grasp at the first solutions that present themselves. Wait until the matter becomes clear to you. It was that it's like the bud has blossomed. It has broken through. It has gone through that sudden breakthrough and it has enough energy, had enough energy stored within it to like grow, to not only break through the surface, but to grow. Also, this staff is giving me like you energy where it comes from inside. But again, just like we saw the purple of that crown, like that deep purple indigo in the Roy G. Biv, if there's 7 colors in the Roy G. Biv and 7 chakras, then the indigo would be the crown. We see this crown on fire here, which kind of sort of gives me, is it Renth Angel of Time? The flame that cracks its skin is the same as the fire from within. It's like when we saw that one golem type thing, and the energy that we saw at its core was the same energy we saw through the eyes. What was still has now become a force. Cool. That was that, and then I will do a final I Ching roll, and we will be good to go. Sure. Sure. All right. Let me close this so I can run the I Ching Lockcaster. So I can run the I Ching Lockcaster. I still haven't got, like, I already have the I Chings and stuff. I just need it to like show. And I don't want to use the book of maps. So I don't know, it's fine. So this is 5-8 final cast. Your I Ching, your cast reveals I Ching number 2, Earth over Earth. Earth over Earth in our final playing card yesterday was the Two of Diamonds. Interesting. And finally, we get an I Ching that doesn't shift. Every single time I've done this live, it's always shifted, which is fine. But it's like I feel like I didn't get to show that, like, it's also capable of like I Chings that don't shift, right? So, Earth over Earth, this said I Ching number 2, which is divine. Hey, we will go from 3 to 2. Supportive power, divine yin. In the beginning, there is darkness and confusion, yet deep in that darkness, attainment awaits. The way to success for you is by being receptive and yielding. Yielding is the true way to lead. No need for greater ambition at this time. Be content and at peace with what you possess. Harness the force and power of soft earth. Like the earth, the sage accepts the character of all, for better or for worse, and nurtures all with compassion, without exception. What I like about that is, I think I mentioned it recently. It's the Knight of Wands and the Pride Tarot. Let me see if I can just find it really quick. Where it moves, it's like Pride Tarot Knight of Wands. It moves with compassion. It's a voice for those that don't have one. Oh, no. I'm in the Pride Tarot. Okay. Maybe I'll just do Pride Tarot guidebook. I think. Did I? Um, I don't know if they emailed it to me or not. Who did I reach out to? There was someone, because I got a deck back before I had my cataract surgery. And there was someone I emailed. I was like, hey, can I get this in a PDF version so I can like invert the colors and be able to read it? And they actually sent it. I was like, thank you. But I don't remember who it was. Okay. It looks like I on Scribed, at least I can access the whole book, hopefully. We're in the major arcana. The world. Please be wands. Please be wands. The first suit is swords. Okay. I'll eat an Oreo while I wait. Mm. Ten of Wands, Page of Wands, Knight of Wands. Knight of Wands by Anita and Verity. The Knight of Wands is an adventurer and really, I got hit with an ad. They let me scroll all the way here. Stop. Okay, thank you. Goodness, I was scared. I'm like, y'all let me do all this and now you cut me off. Sometimes you gotta wait. Be still and wait, right? The Knight of Wands is an adventurer and explorer, following the rainbow to every corner of the world on her quest for equality and humanity for all. Her courage knows no bounds as she ventures out in delivering her message. This knight finds it easy to confront and persuade with her endless energy and enthusiasm. Coming from a place of pure heart and passion, she will defend against unjust behavior and give confidence to those without a voice. This night may appear to call on you to ignite compassion, to actively stand up for your rights or those of others. The opportunity may be there to advocate, to arbitrate, and to truly make a difference. The smallest of actions may have global implications for yourself and wider humanity. Be confident that people are ready to take notice and listen intently to what you have to say when the message is one of passion, power, and positivity. It's on page 103, if you're curious. Um, yeah, that smallest of actions may have global implications for yourself and wider humanity. With that butterfly, if a butterfly flaps its wings and it was with enough force to blow away the clouds, so cool. I hope you all have an amazing whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. Ooh, my shoulder just popped. I hope that whatever you need along your path journey will you find. And until next time, I hope you keep on keeping on. When encountered, and what came out recently? Maybe the sudden breakthrough is happening or will be happening soon. And when that sudden breakthrough occurs, it'll be important to remember all of the to remember all of the things and all of the lessons that you've learned along the way so that you don't stand in your own way when it happens, so that you don't allow any external force to obstruct that is not like supposed to be there. And yeah, kick butt, right? Um, whatever lies on that other side, I hope it's great. I hope it's grand. And I hope you can stick with it, not be swept into the current, not be distracted from what it is that you truly like seek. And I guess that you, so that you won't be changed in any way outside, because like you will be changed. Change is inevitable and almost guaranteed. Even, was it I Ching number 17 that said it, or was it I Ching number 3? That was like change and something bring prosperity. Like change is gonna happen, obviously, but it's like change can happen and you not be changed. Right? In the book, in the audio book series, as people become more magical, it's like the body aligns more and more with the soul, or that soul body matrix shifts into, changes into something that is more and more that person and who that person is becoming. So it's to like go through changes but not be changed, to change in ways that are more and more true rather than being changed by things external and, stuff like that. So anyway, cool. I think that's it. Bye.